And as I said this morning, I want to speak on embracing change. Embracing change. On this road of life that we walk, change is our constant companion. Our constant companion. Thich Nhat Hanh talked about impermanence, and he said, when we look deeply at the nature of things, we see that everything is impermanent. Everything changes. And we can't step into the same river twice. And I was thinking about that, how everything changes. You know, think about your relationship with change. You know, you have things that you want to change, right? You have things that you don't want to change, right? You have things that you want to change in a certain direction, right? And not in the other direction, right? We have changes in our body, right? In our physical body, we have changes in our emotional body. Boy, does that ever change. That changes by the hour. We have changes in our mental body, right? We have changes in our relationships. We have changes in our environment. We have changes in our world. Everything is changing. So our happiness and our well-being depends so much on our embracing change, our healthy relationship with change, being able to accept change, being able to find peace with change, and even being able to find comfort in change, which is interesting. My song, Everything Changes, was inspired by in part by walking in the park last Monday. Last week I went, not this past week, but the week before, I went to the coast to visit my brother, and it was so nice to be in that super cool air. And then, and just the beauty over there. And then we came back, and I was walking in the park on Monday last week. You might remember, it was so cool. It was so unusually cool, and there was just this kind of smell and feel of fall in the air. And I was looking around the park, and there's a lot of yellow leaves. And it's interesting how the seasons change almost imperceptibly, right? I've been noticing that the last few years, how there's fall leaves, even in July. You'll start seeing yellow leaves. And so, I was just thinking about change. Seasons come and then the seasons go. Falling leaves become the winter snow. Then the sun awakens spring. Flowers bloom and birds will sing. Soon the summer breeze begins to blow. Seasons come and then the seasons go. And you could say that the seasons offer the sweetest message about change. I mean, I think there's so much to learn. I love the Tao Te Ching because they reference nature as the teacher. And I feel like the seasons are such a great, great teacher in embracing change. Have you noticed the way the fall leaves let go? It's different than us. They let go with just a little breeze, and they swirl around, and they do this beautiful dance, and they float down, and it's all so beautiful, and they kiss the ground, right? It's easy, easy peasy to embrace change, right, if you're a falling leaf. So the message feels like, learn to embrace change, learn to flow with change, and even find beauty in it, right? The beauty in letting go, right? The beauty in letting go. Buddhism talks so much about impermanence, and the Buddha stressed impermanence as one of the most important contemplations on the spiritual path. He said that of all footprints, the elephants are outstanding. Just so, of all subjects, meditation, the idea of impermanence, is unsurpassed. So he's saying, of all things that you meditate upon, meditate on impermanence. And so I've just felt so compelled to go deeper into that meditation myself, in part because so many people are passing. I don't know if you all have noticed that, but like the last few weeks especially, Andrea Gibson passed on July 14th. Joanna Macy, who I spoke on 2 weeks ago, she passed on July 19th. A dear friend of mine, a Maui friend, Linda Green, I don't know, you might remember her because she took us swimming in Maui with the turtles, and she took us swimming with the dolphins, and she's just this precious dear friend. She passed away at 62 this past week. And then, of course, there's Ozzy Osbourne, and I know he seems like the odd man out in this group of people I'm talking about, but my little brother loved Ozzy Osbourne. In fact, he would always call me and imitate Ozzy, right? And I always thought he sounded so strange, and why are you talking like that? But now that I've been listening to interviews of Ozzy Osbourne, it's like he's got it down. It's like perfect. And I just love Ozzy Osbourne because my brother talked to me like that for the last 20 years or 30 years. Andrea Gibson left us with such a poignant message, such a beautiful poem that Anna shared. And I posted something that I was so touched by. Something she wrote. I don't know if I can read it, I'm going to try. But she wrote love letters from the afterlife. Right? She kind of moved around in time, went into the future, went beyond the body identity and body form. And she wrote this love letters from the afterlife. And it reads, "My love, I was so wrong. Dying is the opposite of leaving. When I left my body, I did not go away. That portal of light was not a portal to elsewhere, but a portal to here. I am more here than I ever was. Why did no one tell us that to die is to be reincarnated in those we love while they are still alive?" Wow. I feel that so intimately with my mom. She is reincarnated in the life I live now. She is a part of me more than ever before. It's like something happens. It's like something, I don't know how to explain it. It's mysterious. It's beyond the mind. It's beyond the mind's understanding, but we feel it and we know it. I'm sorry. I don't have any tissue. We can all cry together. I think we need to. You know, I think it's so healthy I call them diamonds of the heart, to let tears flow. But in their writing, you know, it feels like Andrea was moving around in time and she was beyond her body identity, and she was leaving us with a key and a way to get comfortable with impermanence, with the idea of death. And that we can seek and we can find a greater reality in a real sense. We can touch eternity. We can touch what continues, what isn't subject to matter, right? It's not subject to the end of matter. Like my song says, all we get to take with us is love, because love is not subject to time or space or matter. So the beauty of embracing change, right, and impermanence, it brings with it an inner prompting to be ever so present, doesn't it? Like carpe diem, like Anna's going to speak on a couple weeks. He's going to speak on seize the moment. Be really intensely present today with what life is bringing now. Michael Singer wrote, "Death is such a great teacher. It is death that makes life precious. Look how precious life becomes when you imagine you only have a week left to live," right? How precious would life be if there was no such thing as death? It is scarcity that makes things precious. It is scarcity that makes a simple rock become a rare gem, right? Think of diamonds, think of rubies. It's scarcity that makes it precious, right? So in Buddhism, there's a mindfulness of death meditation. It's called Maranasati. And it's not morbid. It's a way that we focus our attention on impermanence and lessen our attachments. And Thich Nhat Hanh would always say that it's not impermanence itself that causes suffering. It's more our attachment to things being permanent when they're inherently subject to change, right? Isn't it that? Joanna Macy, I was reading a beautiful tribute in Lion's Roar. It was an interview, I guess she did recently. And the editor said to her, he said, in Buddhism, they recommend that every morning when you wake up, you say to yourself, today may be the day I die. Today may be the day I die, because it will transform how you live that day. That you will live the day with more love and gratitude and see the world itself as this impermanent being and cherish it more. And Joanna responded. She said, well, we would want to cherish each other while we still can. We'd want to look into each other's eyes with love. And I imagine going out and thanking the trees, and all the life forms instead of turning them into money, thanking them. I imagine us wanting to liberate those in prison. We're just here for a short time. These are the kind of things we could do before it's too late. And I just think that's such a great contemplation. What would you do? What would you do if tonight you were leaving the body? What would you want to do today? I know when my mom passed, I just felt the message so strongly. Just love, just hug, just forgive, just love. So I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear one thing, just one thing that comes to mind that you would do today if you were leaving this world this evening. Celebrate. Laugh. Hug. Family. Call my daughter. Swim. That had to come from you. The mermaid. Dance. Count your blessings. Cry. Forgive. Beautiful. Sing. Yes. Be in your garden. What else? Touch. Dance. Lay in the sunshine. Maybe naked. Tell the joke. Be with your dog. Oh. Kiss the earth. And I hope you all are typing things into the chat, everybody online. I want to read it later. Oh, I see there's something. All right, well, I'll read that. I want to look at that. I love what you all write. Anything else? What would you? Thank your body. Yes. Appreciate. Harmonize. Smile. Forgive. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, everybody. So beautiful. Such a beautiful contemplation. At the end of that interview, Joanna said, she ended the interview with this. She said, right now we can be here to honor life. It's a precious thing to be giving thanks for what we have instead of insisting it must last forever. Well, it's not lasting forever. Can we still be grateful? Yeah. So another aspect of change that I want to explore is how it can be comforting. Change can be comforting. I'm sure you've heard that old saying, this too will pass. This too will pass. I looked that up. It's been told a lot of ways. I was looking for the beginning of that story, and it looks like it traces back to an ancient Sufi teaching, Sufi story. And in the story, there was a king. He lived in a Middle Eastern land, and he was continuously torn between happiness and despondency, right? The slightest thing would just cause him upset and provoke an intense reaction. And his happiness would quickly turn to disappointment and despair. And so a time came, the king just couldn't stand it. He just could not take it anymore. He couldn't live with himself anymore. And so he began to seek a way out. And he heard that there was this wise man that lived in his kingdom that was reported to be enlightened. So he called for the wise man. And the king said to him, I want to be like you. Can you give me something that will bring balance, serenity, and wisdom into my life? I will pay any price you ask. And the wise man thought, and he goes, well, I may be able to give you, I may be able to help you, but the price is so great, there's nothing in your kingdom that could possibly be sufficient. So therefore, I'll give it to you as a gift. I'll give it to you as a gift. But you have to promise you'll honor it. You'll honor it. And so the king assured him, okay, I will honor it. So a few weeks later, the wise man returned to the king, and he brought this box. And it was this ornate box carved in jade. And he handed him the box, and the king opened the box, and there was a simple gold ring. And so he picked up the ring, and that was a perfect ring. Ring, ring, ring. Right when I said ring, it rang. I love that. So he picked up the ring inside, and inscribed was something, and he looked closer, and the words were, "This too will pass. This too will pass." So he looked at that. This too will pass. He said, what is the meaning of this? What does this mean? And the wise man said, wear this ring always. Whatever happens, before you call it good or bad, touch the ring and read the inscription. That way you will always be at peace. This too will pass. What makes those words so powerful? Can you tell me? The story. Right, the story makes it powerful. And at first glance, it might seem like it's just comforting in a bad situation, but then you could think, well, yeah, but then it says if it's good, it's not going to last, right? You know. But if you look more deeply, it's not telling us not to enjoy the good, right? Not to enjoy the good while it's happening. And it's not just meant to provide comfort in hard times. There's a deeper purpose to make us aware of the fleetingness of every situation, right? To make us aware that everything in form is transient. And with that, we loosen our attachment to forms. That's the key. We loosen our attachment. It doesn't mean we don't enjoy fully the pleasures of life. But we can live without fear of loss and anxiety when we loosen our attachment, and it really grows right view. It grows the view that we can't hold on to anything. You can't freeze time. I mean, I think sometimes we'd love to. But we can't make things stay any particular way. And when we grow in detachment and inner non-resistance, then we realize there's more to life than just our experience of identifying with form. Right? That's what my mom's passing really took me deeper into, is realizing there is so much more to life, to being, than just identifying with form. We are consciousness. And we don't need to live imprisoned in form, right? It's freedom. There's a spaciousness. There's that peace that is beyond this world, the peace of being. Eckhart Tolle writes about this so beautifully. He said, the suffering we create by overvaluating form is due to our unawareness of the dimension of inner space, or pure being, or formless being. Our spiritual practice is to deepen our ability to rest in the dimension of consciousness that knows itself as more, much more, than being a form, than living in a formed world. So there is eternal being in us as us, right? And that is what recognizes impermanent is impermanent, right? It's the consciousness in us that recognizes that. So this gives me comfort. It really gives me comfort. This too shall pass gives me comfort, especially when I see our country, spiraling into authoritarianism, and I see the environmental concerns. Joanna Macy talked about how we're perilously ignoring the needs of our planet and the needs of those in our society who are struggling. But this too will pass. It will change, and we will be that change. We can be that change. We can be part of that. But I do feel like humanity gets wake-up calls, and I've just been feeling like the weather has been... I sometimes feel like these weather events are entities, like they have an energy, and I feel like they are wake-up calls for us. If we listen, Mother Earth is speaking, right? Sometimes we get a nice gentle wake-up call. Sometimes we get a loud bell, right? That gets our attention. Michael Singer says that change is necessary for growth, both individually and collectively. I watched a video of him speaking. So this is another aspect of change, is our own personal need for change in our own life and work. And Michael Singer, in this video, he begins his talk with a question, such a good question. He says, are you willing to change your attitude about the experiences you had, that you're having, and that you will have? Are you willing to change your attitude about the experiences you had, or are having, or will have? And so he says, can you have the attitude, if it challenges me, great, bring it on. Right? That's Michael Singer. And he says emphatically, growth means change. Growth means change. And he said if we just resent certain experiences that we had, and we keep feeling victimized, and we don't let that go, we need a change of attitude to truly grow. And he often talks about challenging situations create the force needed to bring about change, but that we often, instead of using it, and using all that stirred up energy to change, we use it to resist change, right? Have you noticed that? You sometimes use that energy to get everything just so nothing hits that pain inside, right? You just got to get everything just so nothing triggers me, right? Wouldn't it be easier to just become free of what's inside getting triggered? Wouldn't that be a better plan, better idea, better place to place our attention? So it takes, Michael Singer says, when a problem is disturbing you, don't ask, what should I do about it? Ask, what part of me is being disturbed by this? And then he's pointing to self-reflection. He's pointing to humility and self-honesty. So one of my favorite movies is Forrest Gump. Anybody else love Forrest Gump? I love that movie. There's so much wisdom in that movie. And, Forrest is played by Tom Hanks, and his mom is played by Sally Fields. And, though he's born with what society considers a lower IQ, he's actually this incredibly wise, pure-hearted being, right? And he doesn't have notions about the fairness in life, right? His mom didn't want him to limit himself, and so she tells him, we all have to do the best we can with what we're given. And so when he was a kid, you remember he was picked on, he was bullied a lot, and so his best friend, the little girl he fell in love with, she told him, you gotta run, Forrest. You gotta run really fast, right? And so he did. He ran. He ran so fast that he became this all-star football player because he could run so fast, right? So he turned that ability, into being, into something good. And he didn't see himself as disadvantaged, even though he didn't fit the norms, right? And you remember the scene, he's sitting on the park bench, and that woman sits down, she's waiting for the bus, and he's got a box of chocolates, and he's, being generous, and he opens the box, would you like a chocolate? And she just looks at him, no. And so he takes the chocolate to eat, and he goes, my mama always said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, right? And it's just such wisdom. He's sharing this wisdom that life is full of change. It's full of the unknowns, right? And there is a way to live in non-resistance to what is. And that doesn't mean we don't respond to life. I think sometimes people think non-resistance or surrender is this passive thing, but it's not. It's actually this peaceful place that we come from to be most effective, right? To be in a place of peace and non-resistance, we can move from that state versus inner resentment, and we're more effective. So even in that scene where his mother died, Forrest Gump is standing over her grave, and he acknowledges dying is part of life, though I wish it wasn't. Right? So he's even in non-resistance with death. So I just feel like Forrest Gump, he exemplifies, that we all have tragedies to overcome. We all do. We all have, life can be brutal sometimes, and it can also be so beautiful, right? We can embrace the totality. That's what we're learning, that equanimity, that non-resistance, that trusting life no matter what, right? So we can love fully, we can laugh heartily, we can cry even when we're sad, we can reach out when we're lonely, and we can do our best every day. We can believe in ourselves, we can believe in each other. And as Mickey Singer suggests, when something challenges us, let's consider that growth means change. And so let me use this to change, right? And instead of resisting, let me find ways to become more free inside, more free inside. So as the words to my song go, here today, gone tomorrow, all we have here is only borrowed. All we get to take with us is love. So take my hand, let's walk together. In my heart, you stay forever. Live every moment here to fill this world with love. Let's do that. I love you all. Thank you.